beautiful book dragons, welcome back to my channel. I thought I'll do some kind of rant slash recommendations for Women's Day, especially because this is a booktube channel in books, in authors and all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I am so embarrassed to say that when I was thinking about this video, I went through all my favorite authors, favorite books, and most of them were written by men with leading men. So oh, that's kind of bad, isn't it? And kind of the point of this video, because there are so many great female authors out there that I have not read, I'm gonna say. And every single time that I feel like favorite fantasy, for example, I go to male authors. I feel like more of the known ones are men like Tolkien, but also we have Brandon Sanderson. I'm just gonna show you Patrick Rothfuss, Neil Gaiman, Tolkien, like I said, George R. R. Martin, Ernest Cline, you know what I mean. My all-time favorite author, of course, is Stephen King, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't read men authors. Like I said, some of them are my absolute favorite, but I do think that it's mostly dominated by men, especially fantasy. And so when we think about great fantasy and all of that, we think men, but then when we think YA, you know what I mean? You go into Stephanie Meyer, you go into Sarah J. Maas and all of these great authors, but why are we categorizing authors this way? I recently made a video about what I call my all-time favorite YA series, which is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, and someone on the comments told me that it was not YA. And I was thinking, why did I assume it was YA? But first of all, I feel like the plot and the beginning of the book and how they were marketing this book was pretty YA-ish because of the plot, because of the character. But also, if you go into Goodreads, this is not just my mistake, if you go into Goodreads, a lot of people, most people, put this in YA fantasy. Is this because the author is a woman? Is this because of the plot? I feel like there's a lot of stuff involved, but I cannot stop to think a little bit how we in our minds undermine women when it comes to every single field, not just these. So I thought I'll give some recommendations about other stuff. Yes, there's amazing YA written by women. I love that. That's fantastic. And also YA opened the doors for a lot of women authors. When Stephanie Meyer came along, and it was a huge success, and it's not that I love Twilight, right? But it did open the door for a lot of these YA, and most women and writers went into this because it's what it was selling. And that's kind of sad. But it's not to say that there are not amazing women writers out there, not only in YA, but in all sorts of different genres. So I do think that it's important, obviously, to support these women, to read their books, to rate them, recommend them, give them out. And also there's a lot of autobiographies and all of that, but I don't read a lot of those. So I cannot really talk that much about it. But first of all, with the fantasy thing that I was talking about, I do really think that you should go again. Ursula K. Le Guin, A Bit of a Shot. This is the Wizard of Percy, the first book in the Percy cycle. Really amazing high fantasy books, popularly well known, but I don't feel like people read these enough as they read Tolkien and other fantasy writers. So I think that would be my #1 recommendations, just to put out there some classic epic fantasy world built by a woman, because there are not a lot of them. And if there are, please leave a comment down below, because I would love to read more of them. So this will be like a huge thing of all of us recommending different books. I think that would be quite fun. A series that I talk a lot about here in my channel, that I've made book reviews about, is Lady Austriner series by Mary Robinette Kowal. I am a huge fan of that. Also, the struggle of a woman in the scientific field is something that hit hard on me. I went to college for physics engineering, and it was fantastic to be surrounded by guys 24/7. It's just great. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about this field, in these books, in the struggle, and the fantastic thing about this book that I don't find in any books, or I mean in not a lot of books out there, when it comes to space exploration, a lot of that is the science. The science is good, it's spot on. The space exploration parts are perfect. Even the politics and the arguments involved in scientific development that this book talks about are really well done, and I was quite surprised by that, because there's not a lot of books out there that take the scientific part, the socially, politically involved things that go into science, and are so well written. So I was quite impressed by this book. I loved it, as well as all of the lady Austriners that we come across. We definitely see the struggle of these. They were like, oh my god. So many awful stuff, like, because women are more fragile, how are we going to send them into space? And it was also like socially unacceptable, like this, like, are you gonna say a woman? Oh my god, how dare you, she could be in so much danger and stuff like that. And it's like, well, they are actually better at handling G-gravity and all of that. So it's a huge thing. The author definitely goes into all of this. We are in a fantasy world. Well, not really fantasy world. We are on an unrealistic world where there was a meteorite, and now pretty much everything is getting heated up. Global warming basically accelerates, and now this fantastic woman, a scientist, and now someone that wants to become an astronaut puts together a group of women, and they're like, you know what, we can do this as well. And they have to go through so much fucking shit, excuse me, but that's how they do with this. They really have to go through a lot of stuff to finally go into space, and even then there's a lot of stuff that they have to figure out. So I quite enjoy these series. I would totally recommend them if you like space exploration as well. This is going to be a fantastic read. The next book that I really want to recommend is The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. Oh my god, this book definitely opened my eyes in so many different ways, and how women are really forgotten about, totally forgotten about. The title for this is perfect, The Silence of the Girls, and we're basically doing a retelling of the Iliad from the point of view of the women. I mean, because this is something that we don't even think about. When we think about the Iliad, we think about, oh, the wars, Achilles and the great warriors and all of that, and then I feel like no one even asks, what about the women? Like, what happened to them? Well, they of course are enslaved, and a lot of the times they suffer worst fates than the men. If the men lost, they would die, that's it. The women would be taken as slaves and have to endure a whole lot of a bunch of shit. That's how it goes throughout history and in lots of different fields. And I feel like these books are light-hearted and they're fun and easy to get through, but at the same time they leave a little bit of deep thinking when it comes to how these women are dealing with stuff and how these women dealt with a bunch of stuff. So it's quite an impressive thing that you can really outreach into slavery in its whole. Of course, what war and all of this period of time was doing to human beings in its whole. So quite an interesting read, something that I would totally recommend everyone to read, something that I enjoyed immensely. I couldn't stop flipping the pages. And if you're into this period of time, I feel like this is a must read and something that would really open your eyes in a very different way. Instead of putting the men as these untaught godly creatures, they were also human too. And yeah, it's just I like this book as well because it gives the weight in both sides. This is not just talking about women and making men less, but it really is putting a good perspective, a human perspective on everything that is going on around, which I really enjoyed. These are my top books because I feel like they talk a lot about feminism, women power, women through history and all of that stuff. So I felt like this is quite a good book recommendation, especially for today. Happy Women's Day. But definitely there's a lot more women authors that I love and that we should be reading. So today I would tell you to, because of this day, go support your favorite women author, go get a fantastic book by a woman. You know. What else can you do as a good reader? I feel like it's not just about like equality and all of that, but it's also about making our perspectives a little bit bigger, broadening our minds, and just getting more out of the world. There's a lot of fantastic literacy out there, and if we don't diversify what we're reading, we don't get to see it, or we don't get all of the perspective and all of the stories. So happy Women's Day. Go pick your favorite book by a woman, support them, go on Goodreads, Amazon, you know, those are really big ways of supporting. Even if you've got the book a while ago, go give them a review. That is also really great. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you beautiful book dragons on my next video. Bye!